Do you need help in your relationship? Or maybe your relationship is going great and you just want to strengthen the bond between the two of you. In any case, tune in to Ask Mama E, a show intended to assist in creating and keeping the strongest relationships. Join and watch Mama E, the relationship expert, using her wisdom to guide others into forming stronger bonds.
Hi, everybody. It's Mama E again. Seems like it's been a minute since we had a chance to talk. The season has changed. It's a little bit cooler outside. And, of course, we have on our football attire, so that must tell you something. Several years ago, I think it was, we started a relationship game, if you will. We call it First and Goal, and we then try to find similarities between actual football, as in NFL, and relationships. It's interesting because I was never really a football person. And it's interesting because most of you know I went through divorce and then remarriage and what have you. But it was during that period of divorce where I had to find something new to do. You know, I strongly recommend that you don't sit around and mope about the change that has happened in your life. In any event, I am from Jacksonville, Florida. And we have an NFL team. Now, those of you who know me know that I am a loyalist. That just means that anything attached to me wins.
All right.
All right? So that I started listening to the Jaguar games on the way home from church. You know, like 1 o'clock, we're getting out of church, we turn on the radio. I actually found out that I liked it. I went to the library, checked out a Football for Dummies book, and would sit there every Sunday learning the game so I could see what my boys were doing. At the time, and this, by the way, is my daughter, she didn't live here at the time, and she started to get concerned because she'd call on Sundays, and I wasn't there. Well, I was there, but I was watching my boys. In any event, because I am so passionate about relationships and about marriage, very often I would hear things explained or expressed during a game, and it would immediately signal me in terms of how that could be related to marriage and relationships. Now, so today the Colts fan and the Jaguar fan are going to try to give you some of those interesting little tidbits that we found. We have now been doing First and Goal for 2 or 3 years. We invite couples over, and it's interesting how much you can learn from something that's so totally different. Yes. And yet, you know, I often say that God does not waste his resources. That's right. He's always teaching us.
Yes.
So what have we learned from this football thing?
Well, it's interesting. While you're finding that, you know, I just want to express that football to all my ladies out there. You know, I know that you sometimes see that your guy is watching football on Sunday from the time y'all get out of church all the way until the 8 o'clock game goes off, right? And now here's the funny thing. I'm now into college football as well. So now it's college for me on Friday and Saturday. And now we have Sunday for the NFL. We have Monday for the NFL. We got Thursday. So it's football all year long. That's what's going on right now. But ladies, I want you to know it's not as difficult as you think. You know, I know sometimes you know, when your guy gets ready to start watching football, you go to another room, you know, you're watching Hallmark or you're watching your Lifetime. But ladies, it is so much that you can get out of the game of football that you can actually apply to your relationship.
And, you know, I actually had a wife say to me, I just can't do it. I just don't want to sit there all day
it's so
Sunday.
Good, though.
You know, and I get it because for so long I said I didn't like it, which isn't fair because I didn't know it. So that's like kids not saying they don't like spinach,
right?
You know, but until you try it, you don't know whether you like it or not.
I don't like spinach, so I can say that officially. That's not a good analogy. No, it's okay.
So, but what I have found, even when we have first and goal events, people who are not football fans, or for that matter, people who don't come as a couple, I have found that if you learn relationship skills, they can work in any relationship, whether it is a relationship with a parent, with a sibling, you know, the skills that you learn in terms of how to get along with another person, so that whether it's football, you know, or not, I guarantee you that as you learn how to cope with another individual, you know, so hopefully there will be some things that we will hit on as we play around with our first and goal today. That will be beneficial to you. So at some point you'll have to write and let me know that you actually got something out of football, even though you were not a football fan initially.
But it's funny that you were talking about just some of those little tidbits, because in the game of football, think about it, you know, during COVID, how many couples were like, I didn't know that I didn't really want to rock with my husband all day long, you know? Well, see, in football, here's the thing, you are still one team. It doesn't mean that you're going to like all your teammates. There are going to be some people doing things that you don't like, but when it comes time for you to step out on the field, they are one. You know, everybody goes, oh, I'm sorry, see, that was just a Lord. He just dropped something on me. So
you just jumping right in there. All right, so we're gonna try to give some tidbits to both our football lovers as well as those persons who not so much. Okay, so let's start by, we're gonna talk a little bit about some football rules. And as we go along, we'll be able to see what we pull out of those rules that could work in our relationship. Okay, so first question then is that in professional football, and I have to say that because you've got high school football, you've got the little
you got the Pop Warner.
All right. So the rules are perhaps not the same in all of them.
They're a little different.
So let's talk about the NFL, the National Football League then versus Pop Warner, whatever. So who determines the rules then for the NFL?
Okay, so in the NFL, I would go with the commissioner.
Okay, so then we have to understand from the very beginning that everybody has to answer to somebody. I know that we all seem to think that we made up the rules or we can make them up as we go along, you know, but I want to stress from the very beginning that the NFL has well, I don't want to say a ruler, but someone who is in charge.
He oversees everything.
So then, in our marriages, I need you to know that from the very beginning of time, it was God's idea. So when we think that we know all, that we can establish the rules that work for us, regardless as to what God says about it, just understand that He is the commissioner. He wrote the playbook. You know, He knows what's in it. He knows what works and what doesn't work. And so if we're going to establish this conversation from the beginning, recognize that the commissioner sets rules for the NFL, and you have a commissioner who sets the rules for your marriage,
whether you like it or not. So that's the thing. You're not going to agree with every decision that the commissioner makes. There are going to be some times where things happen and you feel like it's unfair. However, if the commissioner makes a particular decision, it's very unlikely that you're going to change his mind.
Now, and that's interesting. So then, if I don't like one of the rules, and I didn't bring my playbook with me, but it's called the Bible. And typically, if we find a rule in the playbook, God's not going to change His mind. He does it whether you don't like it. You know, my husband and I went through some challenges, and I wanted God to change His mind. You know, I even told him, you know, because I was a believer, and at the time my husband was not, I felt like that kind of gave me edge up, you know.
You felt a little holy.
I wanted God to say, okay, baby,
Yes.
You don't have to do it.
He was only going to listen to your prayers because you.
Yes, yes. Because I wanted him to understand I'm a tither.
Yes.
You know, I sing in the choir.
Yes.
I do what you tell me to
Yes.
do. And this man doesn't do any of that.
So he's not worthy for you to listen to him.
No. So even though I read little things in here that applies to wives, and I go, not this way.
Not this way, but of course not.
Right. So if we're going to begin to do this thing called marriage the way God says,
yes,
we're going to have to play by his rules.
That's good. That's good.
I was thinking when new players sign up with the NFL, you know, they get drafted and they go up on the stage, they got the little cap and okay, they are going to at some point sign a contract.
Yes.
This contract is going to make sure that we all understand what you've agreed to.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Now, the one thing about a contract, typically when a contract is signed, it usually has witnesses. You know, there are people there who are on your side of the table.
Yes.
There are also people on the opposite side of the table who represent the football team or represent the NFL. Okay, and those are things that it's done so that everybody there witnesses what was said.
Yes.
When we get married and you invite all of those people and they all bring you a toaster,
Yes.
they are witnesses to what you said.
Yes.
So that when you stood there in front of all of these people and the officiant, the person who said, you know, this is what you are agreeing to.
Yes.
And you said yes for better or worse.
Yes.
You said in sickness and in health. And all the witnesses heard it. Okay? That was so that there would be a witness to what you had agreed to.
Yes.
Now, so in the natural, you have a contract. But when we get married God's way, it is not just a contract that we agree to.
Okay.
There is something higher than a contract.
Okay.
Contract is written and can be broken.
Absolutely.
I know we like to think that it's written in ink.
Right.
But if you've got a good enough lawyer, okay.
Yeah.
But this biblical side of marriage requires that we agree to a covenant.
Yes.
The covenant is stronger than, is different from a contract. You know, somebody said that we've tried to make divorce as easy to have marriage to get out of as a Tupperware contract.
Okay.
And we have been the ones who, as humans, have been the ones who kind of looked at what we agreed to and changed our minds. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about a covenant. How is a covenant different from a contract?
Well, it's funny because there's similarities and there's differences.
Yes.
Okay. So of course the difference is, you know, I think about those quarterbacks right now, like Lamar Jackson, for instance. You know, you have some quarterbacks that are saying, "Hey, I need guaranteed money." You know, so I can sign a contract. However, we all know in the NFL world, if somebody gets hurt, maybe they tear an ACL, you know, something happens where they're not able to perform what the witnesses said. You know, this is what they're going to be able to do. Well, what happens is now that contract really doesn't mean anything. So you signed it for $30 million, but it's not guaranteed money if you're unable to perform, right? When you talk about an actual covenant now, a covenant is different because now you're talking about dealing with God.
Right.
God doesn't make you ineligible just because you got hurt. You know, He doesn't cross you off just because you know, there's something shinier over here. You know, a lot of times we have players that get traded all the time. And you're like, you didn't even give them a chance, you know? Well, when you talk about your covenant with God is not something that He is just easily going to be done away with. You know, the scripture that talks about this 3-cord strand is not easily broken. You know, I love that. But what I also love, the similarities, is that if in fact you do not represent what this contract says. The contract says you're going to represent this team. You're going to represent the commissioner. You're going to represent everything. You're going to uphold this particular standard, right? Well, you have the same thing in God's house.
Right.
If you get married, God is saying, okay, I'm expecting you not to commit adultery.
Right.
I'm expecting you not to beat your wife. So there's certain things that even God in his covenant is saying, you still got to follow some rules.
Right,
So
right,
if in
yeah.
fact you do not uphold the contract, you can get traded. You can get, they can reduce your contract. There's a lot of penalties that can come on this side,
Right.
but there's also penalties that you got to deal with God.
And it's interesting to me, though, as I think of covenants, the rules are a little bit stricter on the covenant side, in that I just can't arbitrarily decide you didn't wear pink every Sunday,
Right.
so that, and because we don't make up the rules as we go along.
That's right.
There are a lot of us that when we got married, we agreed on certain things.
Exactly.
And then 2 years down the road,
Someone
not-
changes.
Yeah, right. A lot of times we don't, even things that you hadn't thought of or hadn't planned on happening. When you talk about a person getting injured, well, I ended up with breast cancer 30 years down the road.
Right.
I didn't sign up for that.
Right.
And so because there was a covenant agreement, God set in the covenant in sickness and in health.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
means husband can't just decide, I
Right.
didn't really want to be bothered with
I didn't
nobody.
sign up for breast cancer. Yes.
And my husband used to like hair. And so if you're going to lose your hair as a
Right.
result of breast cancer,
Right.
that doesn't mean that you can X that part out.
Exactly.
So, all right. So difference between covenant and a contract. Let's talk basic football rules.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Because I know that this is probably going to run on for a little while.
Okay.
Talk to people who don't do football,
Okay.
don't really understand it. What are basic football rules?
So basic, we're talking football 101.
Okay.
You're going to have two teams,
Yes.
right? Each team has their own goal at the end of the field, if you will. Each person is going to have the same amount of opportunities, if you will. You have those 4 downs. You have the ability to, as they say, move those chains to get closer to the end field so you can go ahead and you can score, if you will. However, also in this game, you have that offensive line. Offensive line is the ones that's going to have the ball,
Okay.
right? Defensive, they're the ones that are going to try to stop you from moving forward.
Okay.
That's something there right there. They're going to stop you from moving forward. But at the end of the day, both teams have one goal in mind, and that's to just get to the other side.
Wow.
And that may be by any means necessary.
Oh, now that sounds like preacher. Get to the other side.
Yeah, well,
okay,
let me
okay.
tell you something.
Okay.
So you're going to have in football, you're going to have those, that defensive side, their job is to stop you, from moving forward, and on the offensive side, their job is to get their guys to the other end. So it might be, you guys have always heard Hail Mary, going long with the ball. It might be just passing, just running instead of, throwing the ball instead of just rushing it, And so those terms just simply means that somebody's either going to throw a ball or somebody's going to carry it. So that is the goal.
So, new football person. So now I know that on either side of the football field, there are two teams. One team is going to be the offensive side. They are moving the ball towards their goal.
You got it.
And the other side, that team at this time, their defensive side is going to stop me
Exactly.
from going. And how many players represent each team?
So you mean on the entire, as far
That
as
they're on the field at one time each. Because I remember at first I thought all 50-some players that are on the roster.
Right.
Okay, so I did find out
Right.
that all 50 of them don't
right? No. You're talking about about 11 of them.
Okay,
You
so,
might.
and everybody has to have the same number of players on the field.
Exactly. Or you're going to get penalized.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So if I put more than my delegated 11 players
There you
out,
go.
and one player forgot that he was supposed to run off.
It's a penalty.
Okay. So there are penalties then.
Yes.
If you break the rules.
Yes.
All right. So the rules are simple, but they are required so that everybody will adhere.
Yes.
All right. So those are basic rules when it comes to just what
What's the goal?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So there are 11 players from each team that's on the field at one time. You mentioned something about these 4 downs, so that if my team has the ball and we're trying to get to my end, I can't just stay out there until I get there. I have a designated amount of time.
Yes.
All right. So explain to me then about these downs.
So I love downs. If you ever go to a football game or if you've ever been in the room with somebody and they're saying, move those chains, move those chains. So here's the thing. You only start off with 4 downs, if you will, right?
Okay.
But what I love about football is that if in fact you finally get to that, let's say 4th and 1, like you only have 1 yard to go before you can get to that line. If your guys get over and you make it to that 4th, well, it's going to restart. So now you get 4 more downs, and you will have these 4 downs that will continue to go until as long as you.
So
yes,
I've got 10 yards, and I get 4 attempts.
Yes.
To try to go these 10 yards.
You got it.
And if I make it I get the 10 yards.
Yes.
I then can move my ball, and I get
yes.
4 more attempts.
There you go.
And I'm going to keep being able to do this as long as I do 10 yards.
That's right. And here's the thing.
Yes.
You might not move the chain every time. That's why you have 4 attempts.
Okay.
So let's just say you on that 3rd attempt, right? So on that 3rd attempt, you're like, oh man, like I don't even know how this is going to happen, right? You don't have to get to the 4th attempt. No, and that's what I love about God. He kind of like pushes you forward, because if somebody on that 3rd attempt decides, I'm just going to just give it all I got, I'm just going to just throw the ball as far as I can. Well, if somebody is almost all the way down at the end zone and they catch the ball, well, you don't have to worry about that other down, because now you got a touchdown.
Right.
So now you can go into another field. Now you're talking about trying to get that extra point. You know, so it's so many layers of football, but the goal is to keep moving forward.
And I think that's what we want to do in terms of simplifying. That's where 1st and Goal came from.
Yes.
If we keep making everything that God asked us to do so impossible, I believe that He would not be a loving Father to tell me to do something and that is impossible to do. You know, so that I need somebody to teach me and show me how to do this. You know, and because we have a God that's loving, you know, that He recognizes that I fell short this time, but He gives us another chance.
He gives us another chance.
Let's talk about these plays.
Okay.
Very often we hear people talking about the playbook.
Okay.
And I was thinking, I was listening to Jaguar sports commentators on the radio, and they were talking about we lost the game because somebody didn't run their plays. And I don't know enough about the plays. I don't want to take the fun out of it for me by becoming an expert.
Right.
All right. So I don't want to name the plays.
Right.
If I know basics about penalties,
you know blitz.
Right. So, but when you tell me that, you know, this play should have required him to run up and then cross over and blah, blah, blah. So when I think then about plays, whose responsibility is it to teach me the plays? And when I think then about knowing how to do a certain things, the offensive coordinator, all right, so he's then responsible for teaching all of the guys who play offense. Now, if I choose not to study, I choose not to show up on Mondays
to review the film.
Yes. So there are not going to be an endless number of times that they're going to let you run out there and keep messing up.
Oh, no.
All right.
Oh, no.
So then, when I think about the playbook, each team has their own playbook. Years ago, and I won't call any names, but there was a coach who was fined because he was looking, and I can't remember now how he read the other team's playbook.
Right, right.
But if you realize that my plays that were designed for my team, that we have to come together as a team
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that we both know what the intent is.
Okay.
Now, if we're the team
Mm-hmm.
and we have in this thing called marriage,
Okay.
there is an opposing team.
Yes.
We often think that the husband or the wife is the opposing team, but we're on the same team.
Yes.
Who then is the opposing team?
Oh, that's a good one. So what's interesting is the opposing team in your life, it actually could be made up of several people, okay? Meaning that anyone who is not there to move you and your significant person forward, I'm going to automatically put them on the defensive end.
Wow.
Okay? Because here's the thing, not trying to get too deep into the individual roles, if you will, but you have something that's called an ineligible receiver. Right?
Okay.
And so what that means is this might be somebody who you think is qualified to catch this ball. But if they're not eligible by the way, as far as whatever that play is, whatever their role is for that one, if they're ineligible, they're not somebody who can receive that information, that ball, if you will. That's how I think about football in a relationship standpoint. We have our girlfriends, we have our family, and most of us have those family members that are just ride or die for us, If you go and you start telling your business, you start talking about this argument that you guys have, what's interesting is these people might not be able to be the best carriers of that information. Because if they're not going to send you back to your spouse and say, hey, you guys need to make up, or this is what you guys need to do, or you need to humble yourself, if they're not going to give you that information that's going to move y'all forward, in my opinion, they're automatically on the defensive side.
Wow.
So everybody should not be on your side. I know we like to think that our girlfriends are the best ones. No, not necessarily. Because here's the thing, they might not even mean to do it. Think about it. Our family members, they love us. They just want the best for us. However, if in fact you begin to start running your mouth and doing all this nonsense, well, you have people who are going to remember that. And it's almost like them remembering your playbook. You're telling them what's going on in your life. You're telling them this is what's happening. They're like, oh, okay, so this is what he did.
And even if that person didn't intend to,
Right.
maybe somewhere in their life they experienced some hurt. And they still have that wound that they're carrying.
Yes.
And so just to have somebody else who we think can identify with our
Yes.
pain, when I was thinking, if you and I make up this team,
Okay.
then as believers, we all have an enemy.
Yes.
His name is Satan, Lucifer, the devil, whatever we call him.
Okay.
His goal
Yes.
is to make sure that we don't succeed.
Yes.
And so when we get angry with each other, Satan is in the room listening. He's not omnipresent like
Okay,
God. He
okay.
doesn't know all. He's not in all.
Yes.
But we tell him what it
Yes.
takes to make us lose.
Yes.
And so many times, because we've said, I'm just not going to take it. And I'm not. And
Right.
Satan says, oh, well, if I just do this.
Exactly. I'm going to get this result.
Right.
But here's the funny thing about that. In college, what I love is, there's a lot of teams that do this now, of course, but when they are running plays, you'll see them hold up these signs with different pictures on it.
Okay.
So you might have a sign that has a rabbit on it. You might see another sign and they hold it up.
Who's holding it up?
So these are people on the sideline,
Okay.
right? So on their team, they're holding up a sign that it just has a rabbit on it. It's your job to know, okay, that rabbit means I'm supposed to run this particular play.
Okay.
And so what happens is, what I love about that is they have gotten what I call crafty, right? Meaning in a good way, because it's the opposing team's job to go and review the film.
Right.
It's their job to study what you do.
Yes.
It's their job to say, okay, hey, when he calls out, Tyler
Omaha.
Perry, right, yeah. Exactly. Peyton used to do it all the time. Omaha. That meant, okay, they're going to run this. So what happens is now you have on the sideline, somebody's holding up a rabbit. You don't know what that means. And so that's what I love, is that even in college football, they are finding ways to get around somebody just automatically knowing what their playbook is. That's the same thing we have to do even in our relationships. You have to get to a place to where things are crafty. So when your girlfriend thinks, oh, I know what she going to do, you got to switch that thing up, Fellas, when your fellas are telling you, man, just come on out and drink with us. You know what I mean? Let's just go into the strip club, You have to be the one to change the narrative, because they think they know your playbook.
Right,
But if you just hold up that rabbit, you're going to throw them off.
We didn't get it nearly as far as I thought we would. But let's at least end today
Okay.
with just knowing that we make up this team.
Yes.
Husband and wife are on one side, the enemy
Yes.
to our marriages on the other.
Yes.
And he will do whatever he can to stop you from winning.
And here's the thing, just real quick, right now there's a real situation going on. It happened in basketball, but it still applies, where there was a particular player who got into a fight with his teammate, right? And a person on the inside is the one that leaked the video.
Wow.
So what that tells me is you got to be careful, even the people that are in your inner circle. You think that you rolling tight with X person and this person, but this person is actually in your camp. They videoed it and they leaked it out.
So that means, and when we get further into, having more players on the field. Okay. Listen, as I said, I knew that we would run over. Please tune in again next week. We're going to continue the conversation on First and Goal. This is Mama E. We look forward to sharing with you next time.
Are you looking for a state-of-the-art facility to have your latest conference or retirement party? Do you need a space that can accommodate small or medium-sized events? The HC Multicultural Center is the perfect place if you need to accommodate 20 to 150 people for an intimate celebration. Our facility has a cafe with a beautiful lobby with robust parking. We have a 15-foot LED wall and a digital sound system to accommodate for live recordings, not forgetting our sophisticated live stream, 4K, and 6K camera setup. If you need to accommodate 100 plus people for a large meeting, it is the perfect place for your multicultural event with a friendly staff waiting to serve your needs. When you want it done with class, do it with the HC Multicultural Center.
Jacksonville and surrounding areas, get ready for one of the most prolific prophetic voices in the world. Prophet Antoine M. Jasmine will be in the city of Jacksonville for a prophetic summit for a one-day event, but 2 services at the Hospital Church of Jacksonville. This unique prophetic voice commands the prophetic realm in such a way that some say has never been seen before. His gift transforms lives through prophetic words and gifts of miracles. You don't want to miss this prophetic voice, Bishop Corletta J. Vaughn said.
Prophet Jasmine is a prophet. He does not just operate prophetically, he is a prophet. So what that means is that he does not just engage word of knowledge, word of wisdom, but what it really means is that he hears what is in the mind of God. He goes into the spirit realm and brings out what is there into the natural. Using no gimmicks, using no tricks, no psychics, no Facebook. I saw today a man that stands in the governmental office of a prophet. And he is welcome.
Join us for 2 big services, 12 noon and 6 p.m. service. He is the prophet for this season. The party season is getting ready to take place. It's the famous annual Florida-Georgia game, Jacksonville and surrounding areas. Join us at the Florida-Georgia Tailgating Event 2022 at the hospital. Church doors will open at 2:30. There's going to be a grill-off barbecue competition. There's going to be basketball, challenge act, throwing station. It's going to be food, fun, and fellowship. Have you changed your life? Are you saying, I want a different kind of environment? I want to see the game, enjoy the game, but I want to experience it in a good, peaceful, wholesome environment. Well, this is the place to be. 5454 Arlington Expressway, the hospital. Church doors are open to the public. And guess what? It's sponsored by the Man Cave Ministry, and it's available to men, women, and children. All are welcome.
Jacksonville, it's the Nothing But the Hits farewell tour of the Williams Brothers. November 5th at the Pax Jackson Revival Center. With special guests, the Swanee Quintet, the Williams Singers, and more. Tickets $40 in advance, $50 at the door. VIP available. They're available at Eventbrite, TJ Records, or Paxson Discount Christian Bookstore. For info, call 904-813-00.